My dear friends, have you ever wondered why your blood sugar rises even when you eat just a little fruit? I've heard that question hundreds of times throughout my 30 years of practice, and behind it I often see confusion, worry, and sometimes a quiet sense of helplessness. I still remember a crisp autumn morning at my clinic. Margaret, 64, smiled warmly and said, "Doctor, I don't eat sweets or soda. I only eat grapes, yet every morning my sugar is high." I asked, "How many grapes do you eat?" She replied, "Oh, maybe a small bunch." I smiled. A small bunch sounds harmless, doesn't it? But for someone with pre-diabetes, that small bunch can be like a glass of liquid sugar. Her body, already sensitive to sugar, couldn't handle it fast enough, so her blood sugar quietly crept higher. You see, fruit is one of nature's greatest gifts, but not every gift is safe for everyone. I often tell my patients, fruit is like sunlight, just enough will warm you, too much will burn you. The real question isn't how much you eat, but what kind and how you eat it. Many people believe avoiding candy cake and soda is enough. But then every morning they drink a glass of orange juice for vitamin C or eat a few slices of pineapple for digestion and still wonder why their blood sugar stays high. I don't share these stories to make you afraid, but to help you understand your body better, a body that's walked beside you for more than half a century. At 50 or 60, our bodies don't react to sugar the way they did at 20. Your pancreas, the gatekeeper of blood sugar, has worked hard for decades. Sometimes even one small cup of juice or a handful of grapes can push that soldier to fight another battle. Imagine this: each time you eat a very sweet fruit, it's like pouring sugar directly into your bloodstream. Once or twice is fine, but every day, morning, noon, and night, and your pancreas will begin to tire. Today, I want us to sit together like two old friends sharing a cup of tea and talk about 10 fruits that seem healthy, yet can secretly send your blood sugar soaring. Don't worry, we won't talk in dry numbers or complex terms. I'll share real stories, real patients, real lessons I've learned over 3 decades. Because when you truly understand your body, you don't need to live in restriction. You just need to eat right, think right, and love yourself enough to choose better each day. Now let's start with a fruit I both love and worry about for my patients: pineapple. It's hard not to love it: its bright aroma, that sweet and tart taste that feels like standing in a tropical breeze. But that sweetness is exactly why pineapple can be one of nature's trickiest sugar traps for people with diabetes or prediabetes. I once had a patient named Susan, 61, from California. She was devoted to her health, yoga, morning walks, clean eating, yet her blood sugar readings were always higher than expected. One day I asked Susan, "What's your typical breakfast?" She smiled, "Just a glass of fresh pineapple juice, doctor." Pineapple's full of vitamin C. It's good for immunity. Sounds healthy, right? But when we checked her post-meal sugar, just 30 minutes after that glass, her level had shot up to 190 mSDL. She stared at me, shocked. "It's just juice." And that's the problem. Pineapple juice is basically liquid sugar. When you juice it, you remove all the fiber, nature's brake pedal that slows down sugar absorption. Without that fiber, sugar rushes into your blood like a flood. Science shows that even a small glass of pineapple juice can contain more than 16 grams of sugar, about 3 teaspoons of refined sugar. No wonder so many people who think they're eating healthy still feel tired, sleepy, or crave sweets afterward. I told Susan pineapple isn't bad. It's just the way you eat it. I advised her to eat a few fresh slices instead, paired with Greek yogurt and chia seeds. 2 weeks later, she came back smiling. "Doctor, my sugar dropped 40 points, and I still get to enjoy pineapple." That's exactly what I believe. You don't have to give up what you love. Just learn to eat it the right way. The fiber from fresh pineapple, protein from yogurt, and healthy fats from chia seeds work together like 3 gentle guardians. They help your body handle sugar naturally, slowly, and safely. At 50 or 60, we don't eat just to fill our stomachs. We eat to feel joy, to relive memories. A bite of pineapple can bring back a vacation or an afternoon with loved ones. And that's beautiful. Just remember, loving yourself also means knowing when to stop. You don't have to cut things out, only adjust. Pineapple is still a gift from nature if you eat it with gratitude and a little moderation. And now let's talk about a fruit many people are surprised to hear me caution them about: bananas. For most of us, the banana is a symbol of simplicity, health, and energy. A ripe yellow banana feels like the perfect breakfast choice. But for those with diabetes or prediabetes, that perfect fruit can be a sweet trap. I remember Robert, 70 years old, one of my longtime patients from Texas. He's cheerful, disciplined, and full of optimism. Every morning he ate one banana and drank a cup of black coffee. He believed it was the healthiest habit, low fat, low sugar, full of energy. Yet his fasting blood sugar stayed around 175 DL despite his medications. One day he half joked, "Doctor, can one banana really cause all this?" I smiled and said, "Yes, sometimes one banana is enough to make a difference." A medium-ripe banana contains about 27 to 30 grams of carbs, roughly 3 teaspoons of sugar. It's rich in nutrients, but for an insulin-resistant body, that sugar load can be too much. The riper the banana, the less resistant starch it has, the very fiber that slows sugar absorption. When its skin turns golden and its scent sweetens, most of that starch has turned into simple sugar. I told Robert, try switching to a half-green banana, eat half and pair it with Greek yogurt or peanut butter. He laughed, "Green bananas taste awful." I just smiled. "Try it, your body will thank you in a week." And it did. Within 7 days, his post-meal sugar dropped by 35 points. No new medication, just a change in how he ate. Bananas aren't bad. They're rich in potassium, vitamin B6, and antioxidants. But for those managing blood sugar, the key isn't to eat or not to eat, but how much and how. Eating a ripe banana on an empty stomach is like pouring sugar straight into your blood. But half a green banana paired with protein and healthy fat digests more slowly and keeps you steady. Many of us eat bananas not for nutrition, but for comfort. A morning banana might remind you of your mother's kitchen or the garden behind your childhood home. And that's okay. But at our age, self-love means protecting what we still have. Your body has walked with you for more than half a century. Listen to it. Because sometimes the greatest love you can show yourself is learning to eat a little less, a little slower, but a whole lot wiser. My dear friends, if there is one fruit I both praise and worry about, it's cherries, those small, shiny red gems of nature. Elegant, radiant, and full of life, cherries are often seen as a superfood because they're packed with antioxidants that help your skin reduce inflammation and support heart health. All of that is true, but only when you eat them in moderation. I remember Mrs. Linda, 58, one of my kindest patients in Florida. She was health conscious, always careful about what she ate. One morning she came to my clinic smiling brightly. "Doctor, I've quit soda, I've stopped eating sweets. I only eat cherries now. They're good for me, right?" I asked, "How many do you eat a day?" She laughed innocently. "Not much, maybe 20 or 30. I nodded gently and told her to check her blood sugar 30 minutes after eating. The results surprised her. Her blood sugar had jumped 45 points in half an hour. She looked at me in disbelief. "That can't be. It's just fruit." Yes, cherries are natural, but natural sugar is still sugar. Just 20 cherries contain about 18 to 20 grams of carbs, nearly 4 teaspoons of refined sugar. For a healthy person, that's manageable. But for someone with prediabetes or diabetes, insulin reacts more slowly, and even one bowl of cherries can keep the pancreas working overtime all morning. I often tell my patients, cherries are good friends, but they talk too much. Spend too long with them, and you'll get tired. That always makes them laugh. They realize I'm not banning cherries, only suggesting a healthy distance. Cherries truly benefit your health. They're rich in anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that reduce inflammation and protect blood vessels. But dosage makes all the difference. 5 or 6 fresh cherries after a meal are enough. Don't eat them on an empty stomach and stay away from dried cherries. Their sugar content triples once dehydrated. A small handful of dried cherries can contain up to 50 grams of sugar, more than a can of soda. A few weeks later, Linda returned to my office with a relieved smile. "Doctor," she said, "I still eat cherries, but just a few after dinner, and my blood sugar is stable again." I replied, "That's wonderful, Linda. Sometimes staying healthy isn't about giving up. It's about knowing when to stop." At 50 or 60, we've lived through many seasons of life. At this age, health isn't a race. It's a journey of understanding. Understanding your body, understanding what you eat, and understanding your own limits. The true sweetness doesn't come from the cherries, but from learning how to keep your peace, no matter how tempting life can be. My dear friends, I'll never forget the gentle smile of Mrs. Margaret de 64, one of my patients who comes to mind whenever someone says I only eat a little fruit. One autumn morning, she came in puzzled. "Doctor, I don't eat cake or soda. I only eat grapes, yet my blood sugar is high every morning." I asked, "How many grapes?" She thought for a moment. "Maybe a small bunch, around 20 or 30. I smiled. "You know, just 16 grapes already contain 15 to 18 grams of sugar, about 3 teaspoons of refined sugar." She looked surprised. You see, grapes are one of the hardest fruits to stop eating. They're small, delicious, easy to snack on, and never make you feel full. You can eat half a bunch without noticing you've just taken in nearly 30 grams of sugar. That's why many people think they're eating healthy while their blood sugar remains unstable. Science calls this a high glycemic load, not just how much sugar a food contains, but how fast it enters your bloodstream. For healthy individuals, the pancreas can produce enough insulin to balance it. But for those with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, the system is slower. Every spoon of sugar is another battle for the pancreas. And over time, day after day, that silent exhaustion builds up. I recall another patient, Mr. George, 67, who firmly believed fruit can't hurt anyone. Every morning he ate a full bowl of grapes. After just 2 weeks of swapping grapes for one small apple, his blood sugar dropped by more than 30 points. No new medication, no miracle, just the right choice of fruit. Grapes are rich in antioxidants, polyphenols, and resveratrol, all good for your heart. The problem lies in quantity and absorption speed. Eating grapes alone, especially on an empty stomach, sends sugar straight into your bloodstream. But if you truly love grapes, you can still enjoy 4 to 6 small ones after a meal with a few nuts or a piece of cheese. Protein and healthy fat help slow sugar absorption, easing the burden on your body. Sometimes we eat grapes not for nutrition, but for nostalgia, the comfort of childhood picnics or quiet evenings with loved ones. And I understand that. But at this age, self-love often means choosing less, but choosing wisely. Not everything natural is harmless, and not everything sweet is healthy. Let every bunch of grapes be a small gift from nature, not a challenge for your pancreas. Because sometimes a little mindfulness in today's choices is the greatest gift you can give your future self. My dear friends, few fruits surprise people as much as watermelon. When I say if you have prediabetes or diabetes, go easy on it. Most people think, but watermelon is mostly water. How can it be bad for blood sugar? A fair question indeed. Watermelon looks so innocent, bright red, juicy, refreshing. On a hot summer day, a cool slice of watermelon feels like heaven itself. Yet beneath that sweetness hides a high glycemic index between 70 and 85, among the highest of all fruits. That means the sugar in watermelon hits your bloodstream faster than even white rice. I remember Linda, 63, another patient from Florida. She told me happily, "Doctor, I don't eat sweets or drink soda. I only eat watermelon. That's okay, right?" I smiled. "It's fine, if it's just a few bites." She laughed. "I only eat a bowl." We checked her post-meal sugar levels. 30 minutes later, it had soared to 190 milligrams per deciliter, and she hadn't eaten anything else. I explained that watermelon has very little fiber, but plenty of natural sugar. So when eaten on an empty stomach, it rushes straight into the blood, forcing the pancreas to work at full speed. The result, after that sharp rise, comes a sudden crash, leaving you tired, sleepy, and craving sweets again. It's a silent cycle happening in many people's bodies every day. A single cup of cubed watermelon, about 150 grams, holds nearly 12 grams of carbs or almost 3 teaspoons of sugar. It doesn't sound like much, but it enters the blood so quickly your body can't keep up. That's especially dangerous for those with weak or resistant insulin. I advised her, if you love watermelon, you can still enjoy it, just a few small bites after a meal that includes protein or healthy fat like fish, eggs, or nut butter. She followed my advice, and within 2 weeks, her post-meal sugar dropped by over 50 points. I know watermelon isn't just food, it's a memory of summer childhood and family afternoons. But our bodies at 60 aren't the same as they were at 20. What was once harmless joy can become a challenge for your pancreas. Not everything cool is safe, and not everything naturally sweet is harmless. Remember, you don't have to give up watermelon. Just place it at the right time, in the right portion, so it remains a small joy, not a silent risk. Because sometimes caring for yourself isn't about what you eat, but about how you treat your body with knowledge and mindfulness. My dear friends, there's an image I believe many of us know well: a bright morning sunlight pouring through the window, and on the table, a glass of fresh orange juice, golden, cool, and fragrant. Since childhood, we've been taught that orange juice is the symbol of health, energy, and a fresh start. But for those living with prediabetes or diabetes, that very glass can be a double-edged sword. I'll never forget the story of Mr. Henry, 66 years old, a kind man who loved gardening and was proud of his healthy lifestyle. Every morning, he squeezed the juice of 2 fresh oranges and drank it on an empty stomach. He said, "Doctor, I've given up coffee. Now I only drink orange juice. It's natural and good for the heart." Yet his morning blood sugar stayed between 160 and 170 milligrams per deciliter, even though his medication and diet were otherwise stable. I asked, "Do you know how much sugar is in that glass?" He shook his head. I smiled and said, "A single 250 milliliter glass of orange juice contains about 25 grams of natural sugar, around 6 teaspoons of white sugar. And when you juice it, you remove all the fiber, the very thing that slows down sugar absorption. His eyes widened. No way, it's natural sugar. Yes, but natural sugar is still sugar. And without the break of fiber, it rushes straight into your bloodstream, spiking your sugar 3 times faster than eating the fruit itself. Your body goes into emergency mode, releasing insulin rapidly to put out that sugar fire. Once sugar drops, you feel tired, hungry, even sleepy, and that cycle repeats day after day. I told Mr. Henry, if you really love oranges, eat the fruit itself, one slice at a time. Let your body chew, digest slowly, and work at its natural rhythm. He followed my advice, eating whole orange slices after a protein-rich breakfast, instead of drinking juice on an empty stomach. 2 weeks later, he returned with a gentle smile. Doctor, my blood sugar dropped over 40 points, and I feel lighter, more energetic. I smiled back because it proved something important. We don't need to eliminate oranges, we just need to change how we eat them. After 50 years of work, your body doesn't need liquid sugar every morning. It needs gentleness, slowness, and understanding from its owner. I often tell my patients, vitamin C can help you stay strong, but how you absorb it determines whether you live peacefully or not. Because sometimes what makes us tired isn't what we eat, but the false belief that we're doing something healthy. Love your body with awareness and understanding so that every drink you take, whether orange juice or water, is truly a gift to your health, not a sweet burden you never meant to carry. My dear friends, there are some fruits I admire and fear at the same time, and dates are one of them. I call them disguised candies because behind their humble look hides more sugar than most people realize. They're naturally sweet, rustic, and easy to believe is harmless. If it's natural, it must be good. But in medicine, we learn that natural doesn't always mean safe. I remember Mrs. Margaret, 62, from Arizona. She loved natural foods, often bought organic products, and avoided processed foods. Once she said to me, "Doctor, I've completely stopped eating candy and desserts. Now I only eat a few dates each day, they're natural sugar." I smiled. I understood her thinking. Many people believe natural sugar is easier for the body to handle. But the truth is, the body doesn't care where sugar comes from. It only reacts to the glucose entering the bloodstream. I asked her to check her sugar after eating 2 small dates. The results shocked her. Her blood sugar jumped more than 60 points in 30 minutes. She exclaimed, "Oh my goodness, just 2 dates." I explained. Each small date contains about 18 grams of carbs, around 5 teaspoons of sugar. Because their dried water evaporates and sugar concentrates. Each little date is almost a cube of natural sugar. Your body absorbs it fast, and insulin has to work twice as hard to put out the fire. Then sugar crashes, leaving you tired, craving sweets, and eating more, a dangerous cycle most people overlook. I always tell my patients, not everything sweet from nature is a gift. Sometimes it's a challenge. Of course, I never tell them to completely cut out dates. Dates have real value. They contain antioxidants, flavonoids, and minerals like potassium and magnesium that support heart health. The key is moderation and pairing. If you truly love them, eat just 1 date after a meal with a few walnuts or almonds. The healthy fat and protein slow sugar absorption and keep blood sugar steady. And never eat them on an empty stomach, otherwise sugar floods your bloodstream like a fast-moving river. A few weeks later, Mrs. Margaret returned to my clinic smiling softly. "Now I only eat 1 small date each weekend, like a little dessert, and doctor, my blood sugar is much more stable." I nodded. That's what I call maturity in choices. At 60, we don't need to ban all sweetness from life. We just need to know the line between joy and harm. Your body doesn't need much sugar to feel happiness. Sometimes just 1 date eaten slowly with gratitude is enough to remind you that life is still sweet. My dear friends, if there's one fruit I call the gift of autumn, it's the persimmon. Ripe and soft, glowing red, like sunset persimmons, bring warmth and peace. Many of us hold memories tied to them, cool mornings, a warm cup of tea, and a sweet bite that melts gently on the tongue. But that same sweetness is why I always warn my patients to be cautious. I think of Mrs. Evelyn, 65, a gentle woman from Seattle. She came to me both worried and puzzled. "Doctor, I don't eat desserts or soda. I only eat persimmons. Why is my blood sugar still high?" I asked, "How many do you eat a day?" She smiled, "Just 2 small ones. They're so good this season, I can't resist." We reviewed her results together. Her post-meal sugar had spiked over 70 points in just 1 hour. I explained gently. Persimmons are sweet because they're packed with fructose, about 21 grams of sugar per 100 grams of fruit, and very little fiber to slow it down. In other words, persimmons are a natural sugar wave, beautiful, tempting, but stronger and faster than you think. Because they're soft and easy to eat, it's easy to lose track of portions. 2 small persimmons can equal nearly 8 teaspoons of sugar. For healthy people, the body can adjust. But for those with prediabetes or diabetes, the pancreas already tired struggles to keep up. I advise Mrs. Evelyn, if you love persimmons, you can still enjoy them, just half at a time after a meal that includes protein or fat, maybe with some Greek yogurt. That way your body absorbs sugar slowly and gently. She followed through and 2 weeks later returned smiling brightly. Doctor, I still get to eat persimmons, only now I know how to enjoy them without hurting myself. I smiled and said, that's the secret to health: understanding before loving, not loving before understanding. My dear friends, persimmons are a symbol of autumn, of fullness, comfort, and gratitude. But at our age, we've learned that even the most beautiful things need boundaries. Because sometimes just a little less, a little slower, lets us enjoy life completely without paying the price. Ripe persimmons are nature's gift. Moderation is the gift you give back to your body. Remember, living healthy isn't about cutting out what you love, but learning to enjoy it wisely, gently, and with gratitude. My dear friends, there's one fruit that makes people smile the moment you mention it: ripe mango. Sweet, fragrant, and golden like summer sunlight, mangoes bring joy, youth, and a burst of life. But for those with prediabetes or diabetes, mango is a sweet double agent, one side full of vitamins and fiber, the other packed with natural sugar. I remember Mr. Carlos, 59, a Mexican gentleman living in California. He loved mangoes. He said every summer his home was filled with their scent. One day at the clinic, he smiled and said, "Doctor, I don't eat cake or drink soda. I only eat mangoes. They're the healthiest fruit from my homeland." But his test results told another story. His post-meal sugar was always over 200 milligrams per deciliter. I asked, "How much do you eat a day?" He replied, "Just one small mango about the size of my hand." I nodded gently and said, "Do you know a small ripe mango contains 40 to 45 grams of natural sugar, nearly 10 teaspoons of table sugar?" Because mangoes are soft and easy to eat, most people eat them quickly, sending that sugar straight into the bloodstream. He looked surprised, then chuckled sadly. "So mangoes are even sweeter than candy?" I smiled, "Yes, except with candy. You know to be careful with mangoes. You think they're healthy, so you let your guard down. In truth, mangoes aren't bad. They're rich in vitamin C, vitamin A, antioxidants, and fiber if eaten the right way. But ripe mangoes have a glycemic index around 55 to 60, and they can spike your blood sugar fast when eaten on an empty stomach or in large amounts. I advise Mr. Carlos, try eating just a few thin slices of mango after a protein-rich meal, maybe fish or eggs. And if you crave mango smoothies, add Greek yogurt and chia seeds. Avoid drinking pure mango juice. It's liquid sugar absorbed even faster." 2 weeks later, he returned with a bright smile. "Doctor, I still eat mango, but now my sugar after meals is only 130. Thank you for not making me give up what I love." I smiled and said, "No one has to give up joy. They just have to learn to love it wisely." My dear friends, at our age, we no longer eat to indulge. We eat to preserve our health, our peace, and our memories. Every bite of mango can still taste like summer, if we make it a small joy, not a burden for the pancreas. Life doesn't ask you to give up sweetness, only to know your limits so you can protect your peace. My dear friends, if there's a fruit that symbolizes health, it's surely the apple. Since childhood, we've heard the famous saying, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." And I, a doctor, can't help but smile every time I hear it. Because yes, apples are wonderful, full of fiber, vitamin C, and antioxidants. But Abana, not all apples are as good as we think, especially sweet red apples, a hidden trap for many with prediabetes or diabetes. I remember Mrs. Helen, 68, a retired teacher from California. She lived mindfully, ate sensibly, and took care of herself. One day she asked me, "Doctor, I eat very healthy, just one red apple every morning. Why isn't my blood sugar improving?" I asked, "Red apples?" She smiled, "Yes, the sweetest ones, they taste the best." We looked at her readings together, and just 45 minutes after eating, her blood sugar had risen by more than 50 points. I explained, "Sweet red apples contain about 25 grams of sugar each, while tart green apples have around 15 to 17. That difference may seem small, but for a sugar-sensitive body, it's like a strong jolt that forces insulin to work overtime. What worries me isn't the apple itself, but how we idolize it so much that we forget to be cautious. We believe apples are always healthy, then unconsciously pick the biggest, reddest, juiciest ones, with nearly twice the fructose of the tart apples from decades ago. I told Mrs. Helen, "If you love apples, don't stop eating them. Choose green apples, eat them with the skin, and have them after a meal, not on an empty stomach. Or eat half a red apple with almond butter or a few walnuts protein, and fat will slow sugar absorption." 2 weeks later, she came back smiling. Doctor, I still eat apples every day, but now I choose green ones. My sugar is more stable and I feel lighter. I said, that's wonderful. Not every apple keeps the doctor away, only the one you eat the right way. My dear friends, at this age, I've learned that health isn't about which fruit you eat, but how well you listen to your body. You can still enjoy apples, still taste sweetness, but let that sweetness come from mindfulness, not habit. A sweet apple can make you happy for a moment, but a wise choice can keep you peaceful for life. My dear friends, we've journeyed together through so many fruits, from small grapes and cool watermelon to golden pineapple slices and crisp red apples. 10 fruits seemingly harmless that can quietly raise your blood sugar day by day. I know after watching this, you may feel a little sad, because some of these fruits have been with you all your life. Childhood desserts, family gatherings, memories of simpler days. But you know what? If he true, age doesn't take away our joy, it just teaches us how to love ourselves more wisely. I always tell my patients, after 50, health isn't about what you eat, it's about how well you understand yourself. You don't have to live in deprivation to stay healthy. You only need to live with awareness in every meal, every rest, every small decision each day. Every right choice is a thank you to your body. The body that has faithfully served you for 50 or 60 years, even when you sometimes forgot to care for it. Remember this, no fruit is entirely bad. What makes the difference is how, when, and why you eat it. A slice of mango, half a persimmon, or a few bites of watermelon. When placed at the right time and in the right way, they stop being culprits and become gentle gifts of nourishment. After 50, the body is like a classical symphony. Each note needs to be in tune and rhythm. If you listen and adjust, life can still be full of flavor, the flavor of balance and peace. I still remember one afternoon, Mrs. Margaret, a patient I mentioned earlier, said to me, Doctor, I no longer feel restricted. I just learned to choose less, eat slower, and be more grateful. I smiled, because that's the true goal of healing. Not to fear food, but to understand it and to understand yourself. My dear friends, if this video helped you discover something new, a habit to change a fruit to limit, or simply renewed your desire to live healthier, then your time here was well spent. Please share this video with your loved ones, friends, or anyone living with diabetes, prediabetes, or anyone who just wants to care for their health better. Perhaps your small act of sharing today could help someone out there find hope, a new beginning for their health. If you find my sharing helpful, leave a comment below, tell me your story, where you are on your journey to better health. I read every comment because I believe each story is a lesson for someone else. And if you'd like to continue this journey with me, click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. In the upcoming videos, we'll explore 10 fruits that help lower blood sugar naturally and the small habits that help your body regain balance after 50. Before we end, I want to leave you with a message from the heart of a doctor who has walked alongside thousands of patients over 3 decades. True sweetness isn't found in what you eat, but in how you live peacefully, slowly, and with gratitude. When you learn to love your body the right way, it will love and protect you in return. Thank you for watching till the end. I'm Dr. David, wishing you a peaceful day, a strong heart, and a soul that stays sweet in the most natural way.